some time ago, I don't know exactly when it was, but God placed Portugal on Krystal's heart, and she was led to love these people and to start the Con Café coffee ministry in a suburb of Lisbon. Tell us how this is going.
All right. Well, first of all, I guess I'm honored to be in your presence, really, the queen.
I know.
And also I want to take a brief moment to say thank you to all of you, because you guys have been a huge support, and I know a lot of it is because you are connected also to Portugal. And you've supported in sort of every area. So you've covered me in many ways, and I just want to thank you for that. So,
amen. Where are we these days? What's going on?
So the cafe is going really well. This is the first time that I've been away from it with it still going. So that's a big praise, I think. I hope it's going well. But we have local volunteers that are helping with it, and I've been able to do some fundraising to help so they can get a little bit of money for being there, which is kind of a big need at this point too, because we have lots of people that like to frequent the cafe, and enough so that we need more people that can be there volunteering because of that.
Amen. I know our newcomers are here, and they don't exactly know what Con Café is about and the reason you went this route. This is a most unusual but very creative, and I believe God-centered way to reach souls for Jesus.
So Con Café is a cafe. It's not in the traditional sense where you come in and order something and pay. It's donation-based, and it's in a suburb of Lisbon that's mostly lots of big apartment buildings, so there's lots of people. And they have a big coffee culture, so they're used to getting multiple coffees per day, and they will not necessarily enter into an evangelical church because that's weird, and they're very traditional and they like to stick to their traditions. So the tradition is not to go to church, the tradition is to get coffee. So we opened a place that operates as sort of both. It operates as a cafe, and it also operates as hosting the presence of God, which they experience when they come in.
Wonderful. We have a video, and we want to give you a picture of what this is about. So let's take a look.
Con Café is a meeting place. It's a living room for the community. What I've really enjoyed seeing is different people coming in that don't know each other but live right here on the street, and then they end up being neighbors. The system that we have for paying is that it's donation-based. We decided to have just a tin that people can put money into, and our intent was to put it in a place where we don't really see it, where we can't constantly monitor what's going on with it. So we don't know, and we don't want to know. What we want is people to just give based on the experience they received. I think the biggest thing that has made a difference in this whole adventure has been the aspect of prayer. I don't think any of this would have come about without starting with prayer. We pray every morning before we open for that day, and for that each day is a unique new day where people come in and experience God where they're at. I think in that way it's church. I think it's people coming to a place and feeling like they belong and getting hungry to know why this is different and why they feel the way they do. So our biggest need right now, as always, is prayer. There's a very simple prayer that I always share that's actually only 3 words. So I always request people to just pray from Isaiah 60 to just say, "Arise, shine, Portugal." Other practical needs, volunteers and people to help. It's a great place to have volunteers because we have purchased an apartment right across the street, and part of our intention of it is to be for volunteers. Eventually, there will be that place for them. But that's another need, because that apartment needs to be renovated, and then it will need to be furnished, and it also needs to be paid off. So it's a really big financial need, is to have that apartment available for our other need, which is volunteers. I feel like Concafe is a place that gives space for God to move and to live and breathe, have his being here. And that it's, when we serve coffee and serve chocolate chip cookies, there's more to it than just that. It's God in those things. And whether or not people realize it or ask direct questions about it, I think they feel it. And I think the prayers each morning before we open, asking for God to send the right people through the door during the day, is happening. And so there's life here. Like, it's exciting to see God at work, like movement. It's not stale. It's something new and exciting, and it's pushing towards revival.
Oh, Krystal. So we heard that there's a need for lots of prayer to finish the apartment. I'm going to invite some of us who went to Portugal. If you would please, we're going to pray over Krystal. And those of us who've invested, I'm just going to invite you to come forward. But we do need to really think about, things are starting, and we need to continue to support with our prayers and continue to support with our finances this incredible ministry, most creative. And God is using it in just loving ways to open people's hearts. Any personal, special need for you?
I guess I would just continue with the Rise Shine prayer for me, and then also a challenge to you when you pray to ask God what to pray for and pray that direction. Can I share a quick story about someone too?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of our breakthrough at the cafe has come from people that have been coming since the beginning. So if you guys who are on Work and Witness team probably know some of them, and maybe even recognize some people in the video. So it takes time there to develop relationship, and so some of the breakthroughs we have are just happening now after a couple of years of knowing them. But I was going to share a story about a lady named Rita that you guys know, but I think I'm going to switch to a different Rita. It's still Rita, but she's 15 or 16 years old, and she started coming in because she loves the chocolate chip cookies, which you can't get in Portugal. And so it became her place to get a chocolate chip cookie after school. This last year, her school went until later in the day, because school there can go until 6 o'clock at night. And so she couldn't come in after school to get a cookie, so she would come in on Saturdays to get her chocolate chip cookie. And as it turns out, you might have seen in the video there too, there was an older gentleman teaching people how to paint, which is something that's just started developing on Saturday afternoons. We have artists that come in and paint. And a local church, a Nazarene church that's in the neighborhood, has kind of been sending people with us to do that. And so it's a combination of people that want to learn how to do art, but it's also Christian people who use art as a form to communicate God to people and to encourage people. So one Saturday afternoon, Rita was there, and we sent her over to the artists and had her get an encouraging word from one of the Christian artists who asked God for a picture, draws it, and explains to the person what the meaning is. So the artist drew something for her. I actually don't know what it is. I just saw tears starting to flow. She just started crying, and crying, was back there for about an hour talking to this person. And the part of the story that I got afterwards is that she just kept crying and was embarrassed that she was crying, but said, well, I don't even believe in God, but I believe in this. And as it turns out, some of the teens from that local church have started hanging out at Con Cafe also, which are in her class. And so she comes now and hangs out with these kids that go to church. And it's just sort of become a part of her life to sort of be a part of this church through the cafe.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
yeah.
In wonderful, creative ways, God's grace moves into hearts. Sometimes by way of a service like this, sometimes by way of a cup of coffee or maybe painting. God is so creative, and he knows each one, and he knows what's needed, and he knows what's needed in Portugal.